morning of my divorce hearing, my wife walked into the courtroom smiling like she'd already won. She leaned over and whispered, "You'll leave here with nothing." Her boyfriend laughed loud enough for everyone to hear and added, "He doesn't deserve a single dime." I didn't argue. I didn't even look at them. Instead, I quietly handed my attorney a sealed letter and asked him to give it to the judge when the time was right. 5 minutes later, the judge opened it, read 2 paragraphs, looked up, and said 4 words that changed everything. Well, this changes things. My name is Walter Doyle. I'm 58 years old, and the last thing my wife whispered to me before our divorce hearing began was, "You'll leave here with nothing." She smiled when she said it, like the outcome had already been decided. 5 years earlier, those words would have broken me. That morning, they barely made me blink because I already knew something she didn't. To understand why, you have to go back 15 years. I met Vanessa when we were both 23. She had big dreams and very little money. I had a steady accounting job, a tiny apartment, and enough optimism for both of us. She wanted to start her own software company. Everyone told her it was too risky. I didn't. I believed in her. When we got married 2 years later, we agreed on one simple plan. I'd provide stability while she built the business. Once it succeeded, we'd enjoy the rewards together. The first 3 years were difficult. Some months the company earned almost nothing. There were nights Vanessa came home convinced she should quit. I'd sit beside her at our tiny kitchen table, pour her another cup of coffee, and remind her why she started. "We're going to get through this," I'd tell her, and somehow we always did. I worked overtime almost every week. My paycheck covered the mortgage, the groceries, utilities, health insurance, even most of the company's early software expenses when investors backed out. I postponed graduate school, delayed buying a new car, skipped vacations. Every sacrifice felt worthwhile because I believed we were building something together. Whenever Vanessa thanked me, she'd say the same thing. "One day all of this will be ours." I believed every word. Then everything changed. In the company's 7th year, one of Vanessa's products unexpectedly became a huge success. Within 18 months, the business expanded across 3 states, interviews, awards, magazine covers. At first I was proud. Watching someone you love achieve their dream is a beautiful thing, until success started changing her. She stopped asking about my day. Dinner conversations became one-sided presentations about investors and expansion. When I suggested finally returning to graduate school, she barely looked up from her phone. "Why? Seems unnecessary now," she said. Little by little, the partnership we'd built disappeared. Business trips became more frequent. Late-night meetings became routine. Weekend plans were constantly canceled. Every concern I raised was dismissed. "You're overthinking. It's just work." While organizing paperwork for our accountant, I found hotel reservations that didn't match any conferences on Vanessa's calendar. I didn't accuse her. I quietly started paying attention. Phone calls she took outside, messages deleted the moment they arrived, sudden passwords on devices that had never needed them before. Then one afternoon, I overheard a conversation she thought I couldn't hear. "I'll handle the divorce soon, I just need everything positioned first," she said. My entire world went silent. Not because she wanted a divorce, because she'd apparently been planning one without saying a single word to me. That night I didn't cry. I sat alone in our living room until sunrise. Then I made a decision. If our marriage had already ended in her mind, I wasn't going to beg her to stay. The next morning I hired a divorce attorney. Her name was Renee Castillo. After reviewing everything I'd brought, she leaned back in her chair. "Walter, how much documentation do you have?" I opened a folder nearly 3 inches thick. Bank statements, tax returns, emails, loan records, receipts dating back more than a decade. "You've kept all of this?" she asked. "I've always believed paperwork tells the truth." Over the next several weeks, Vanessa hired one of the city's most expensive legal teams. Mutual friends began calling me. Apparently, Vanessa had been telling everyone exactly how the divorce would end. "She says you'll never touch a penny of her company. She keeps saying she built everything herself." I simply thanked people for letting me know I never argued, never defended myself. The truth didn't need me to shout. The morning of the hearing, Renee adjusted the stack of files. "Are you ready?" I looked toward the courtroom doors. "I'm done fighting. I'm ready for the truth. Vanessa walked in wearing an expensive tailored dress. Behind her came her attorney, and seated confidently in the gallery was the man I'd seen in those hotel reservations, Trevor. He caught my eye and smiled. Vanessa leaned toward me. You should have settled when I offered. I said nothing. The courtroom doors opened. Everyone stood, and as the judge entered, I reached into my briefcase, removed one carefully sealed envelope, and quietly handed it to Renee. Please, I whispered, give this to the judge when the time is right. Vanessa's attorney stood first, Your Honor. Mrs. Doyle built her business through her own vision, leadership, and hard work. While Mr. Doyle was certainly her spouse, he made no meaningful contribution to the creation or growth of the company. We asked the court to recognize the business as her separate achievement. Vanessa nodded proudly, looked at me with a faint smile. The same smile she'd worn the morning she promised we'd build our future together. Only now it carried no warmth. The judge turned toward Renee. Mr. Doyle's response. Renee stood calmly. We'll address those statements, Your Honor. She walked quietly to the clerk's desk and handed over the sealed envelope. This was prepared by my client. What exactly is it? The judge asked. A chronological summary of documented financial support and relevant records already included in discovery. I'll review it, he said. The judge began reading. His eyes moved slowly down the first page, then the second. He stopped, went back, read one paragraph again. Finally, he looked up. Mr. Doyle. Yes, Your Honor. You organized these records yourself. I did. I appreciate clear timelines, he said, and returned to the letter. The first page wasn't emotional. No accusations, only dates. March 2011. Walter withdrew $28,000 from his personal savings to cover company payroll after investor funding was delayed. Supporting documents attached. September 2012. Walter refinanced his vehicle to reduce monthly expenses, allowing additional household income to support business operations. February 2013. Walter postponed graduate school to continue working full-time while Vanessa focused exclusively on company growth. Then came copies of emails. One caught the judge's attention from Vanessa. I couldn't have kept the company alive without you. Someday everything we build will belong to both of us. Another, thank you for covering the mortgage again. I promise this sacrifice won't be forgotten. Another, every investor meeting is possible because you're keeping everything else together. I didn't look at Vanessa, I didn't need to. The silence beside me was changing. The judge reached for the financial exhibits, compared dates, bank records, loan documents, corporate filings, made another handwritten note, then looked directly at Vanessa. Mrs. Doyle, you testified the business was entirely self-funded after its first year. That's correct. Then could you explain this transfer? He said, lifting a document. Her attorney leaned forward. What transfer? The $28,000 deposit made into the business operating account. It matches the same amount withdrawn from Mr. Doyle's personal savings on the same day. No one spoke. The judge continued. You also stated your household expenses were independently managed, yet these records indicate Mr. Doyle paid the mortgage, insurance, utilities, and healthcare premiums for nearly 4 consecutive years, while the business operated at a loss. Vanessa shifted uncomfortably. Her attorney whispered something into her ear. The judge held up another printed email. This message specifically thanks him for keeping the company alive. Mrs. Doyle, were these statements accurate when you wrote them? She started. Her attorney interrupted. Your Honor, we'd appreciate a brief recess. In a moment, the judge said. He placed my timeline neatly on the bench, then looked directly at me. Mr. Doyle. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. He tapped the organized timeline with his pen. This isn't an emotional argument, it's a factual one. Based on today's testimony and these supporting documents, the court is ordering additional review of the financial disclosures before any determination regarding asset division is made. Vanessa's smile was gone. Trevor slowly lowered his eyes toward the floor. The courtroom reconvened 3 weeks later, after a full financial review of bank statements, tax returns, corporate records, loan agreements, and email archives. I didn't spend those weeks celebrating. A marriage had ended. No amount of paperwork could erase that. When I walked back in, Vanessa looked different. The confidence she'd worn was gone. The judge entered, reviewed the final report, and spoke calmly. The financial review confirms that Mr. Doyle made substantial documented financial contributions during the company's formative years. The evidence also confirms that several earlier statements regarding the source of funding and household financial responsibilities were incomplete. Accordingly, the marital assets will be divided based upon the verified financial record and the applicable law. No dramatic speeches, no shouting, just the truth. The hearing ended less than 30 minutes later. As people began leaving, Vanessa remained seated. Her attorney quietly gathered his files. Even Trevor slipped out without a word. For the first time in years, it was just the two of us. "Walter," she said, "I was wrong. I kept telling myself that once the company became successful, everything before that didn't matter anymore. But it did. I convinced myself I built everything alone because it was easier than admitting how much I depended on you. I'm sorry." There was no anger left inside me, only acceptance. "I didn't help you for 15 years because I wanted credit," I said. "I know," she said. "I helped because I loved you." "I never wanted this to become a battle," she said. "Neither did I. I just wanted the truth." "You deserve that," she said. I wished her well, not because she had earned forgiveness that morning, but because carrying bitterness any longer would only keep me tied to a life that was already over. A month later, the settlement was finalized. Fair, not extravagant, not symbolic, simply fair. For the first time in years, I wasn't building someone else's future, I was finally building my own. Instead of buying a bigger house, I invested in something I'd postponed for almost 15 years. My own consulting firm, dedicated to helping small family-owned companies organize their finances and grow responsibly. The first client who walked through my office door reminded me of us years earlier. Young, hopeful, trying to build something meaningful. This time I wasn't standing behind someone else's dream. I was standing inside my own. Sometimes people ask whether I felt victorious after the divorce. The truth surprises them. I never wanted revenge. Revenge would have kept me looking backward. What I wanted was acknowledgement. Not applause, not sympathy, just the simple recognition that quiet sacrifices matter, even when they happen behind closed doors. The courtroom gave me that, but something even more important happened long before the judge read my letter. I stopped measuring my worth by someone else's appreciation. My value had been there all along. The judge didn't create it, the documents didn't create it, the settlement didn't create it. They simply revealed what had always been true. And as I locked the door to my new office, on my first day in business, I smiled because the greatest thing I walked away with wasn't part of any settlement. It was the confidence to know that the strongest foundation I would ever build was the one beneath my own life.